Okay, we're back. I needed to record that especially because there's a couple of people who are not enrolled in this section. They wouldn't be able to see it and need to be able to spot these links. Okay. So first off,
Charlie,
yeah.
we don't have the module selection available on Bio 111 or 110.
You're right. Okay. That's funny. Well, you can see it right here. So I'm going to have to do some thinking what's going on. Here's the modules. I placed them in the area where you could see them. Down here is things that you can't see. So let me drag it around, but we're out of sight. Back in. Save it. Sorry about this, but now I don't even see it at all. Yeah, here it is. Is it over here? Should be. It's here. Okay. Well, no, you can't see it. I don't know why, because I have it set for you to see it. And it's down here and eyed out. So what I'm going to do, okay, I'm going to go through this with you, okay, and then I will put it back in Bio 11, all of it, and some of it's already there, okay, and I'll put it down at the bottom, and I'll call it Review Week or something like that, okay? You only need to see it right now with me. Okay, first is going to be for practicum number 4. It's really a combination of things. It looks at the organ systems of the body, the functions of the various organs, and of course, identification of the parts. So, in looking at it, come on, there it is. It always takes a little bit longer when it's first loading up. Okay, so you have the head region. You're going to have all of these organs. Many of them we've already talked about. That's great. That's just icing on the cake that you can do those again. pharynx, nasopharynx, oral, laryngeal, pharynx. Nothing really new there. I've given you some terms in, is this blue? What color is this?
It's blue.
Okay. And what these things in blue are the type of tissue that predominantly is found in the organ. The parotid gland is made up of glandular epithelium. All glands are made up of glandular epithelium. So that one's such a giveaway. It's a great one. Some I don't have anything for it. That's usually because it's made up of many tissues, and it would be confusing to list them here rather than talk about them in the classroom, which we will do. All of this is going to get covered. The palatine tonsils are what we call lymph nodes. And the lymph node is really like a chamber. It has lots of passageways and lots of crevices where white blood cells can accumulate. The type of tissue is called a reticular tissue. Reticular network sponge-like. Okay, there's another one, the pharyngeal tonsil, made up of reticular tissue. The epiglottis, elastic cartilage. I don't have inserts here for the remaining ones on the sheet. That's okay. I'm primarily hitting the ones that you're going to get asked and that you really need to know. You also just need to know what all these organs are. You need to be able to identify them. In the respiratory system, which we covered, you need to know these structures. We talked about all the structures. That's great. We're getting some rehash here. But the C rings are made up of hyaline cartilage. The epiglottis is made up of elastic cartilage. The thyroid cartilage, or Adam's apple, is also made up of hyaline cartilage. Okay. Trachealis muscle that allows you to swallow is made up of skeletal muscle. So you want to commit these to memory, and it doesn't take a powerful memory to do this at all. You don't have to have a lot of memory space available. A lot of these are pretty straightforward. In the abdominal region, you can begin to refresh from especially the digestive system, all of these structures, okay? And at times I've told you what type of tissue they're made of. For some of them, we haven't discussed it yet. So as you go through and you see esophagus, how many times have I said, upper esophagus is stratified squamous, lower is simple columnar. The stomach and the rest of the GI tract is simple columnar. You may not have an appreciation yet for what simple columnar looks like. You will in this section. But any of these that you can sort of commit to memory or read over for the first time, getting ready to commit them to memory later on, is going to help you. The reproductive system, same thing. Okay, I'm not going to go through it one at a time with you right now. That's your choice if you'd like to get started on these. The kidney. We talked about the kidney quite some time ago. Already have been tested on it, but you're going to get retested on the kidney in practicum 4. That's the practicum where we have the models of the kidney or images of the kidney, and you'll be asked to name all the various parts. You did get some of that, of course, in a lecture test, but you're going to get it again. Okay. There are 2 organ system documents, as they're called here, and you can open them up. They actually may be the same. Let's find out. These are going to get lectured upon after you get back. You may just want to read through the lecture and see what's coming. Again, it's going to take a little while for it to load up. When it's loading up for the first time in any module, that's what happens. Here it comes. Okay, these are tissues actually, organs also, and systems. Okay, we know the difference between those. And here's neurons. You look at it, get an idea what they look like. You also have your work guide or your study guide that I led you to on my homepage, where I asked you to fill out the name and the definition or the function, okay? But you need to know what it is associated with. Now, when you have this neuron in front of you here, use that guide. I hope you have been able to print it out, okay? And fill it out at the same time, okay? Down here, you can enlarge it. This is salivary gland. Glands always have lobes. You see these lines running through, they're not blood vessels. And if they were a blood vessel, what's the chance you could take a knife and cut tissue right down the center of the cross section of the blood vessel? Not a chance. That'd be like throwing a hair up in the air and splitting it down itself lengthwise with a sword, as you see in cartoons and such. That just doesn't happen. When you see this look of steak meat in the butcher market, you know you've got a gland. You know the tissue type immediately. If it's a gland, it's glandular epithelium. Okay. Here it is to look at to make your first association. Don't feel that you have to have it memorized the first time through. Here's the tongue. Okay. Try to be able to identify that. Here's the upper esophagus, which is a stratified squamous epithelium. Listed here for you. You need to make the association with the organ sometimes and the tissue type that's being discussed. This is stomach, colon. Here's the pancreas. And you see these long lines? You can't get those long lines unless you've got a gland. It's a gland. And the pancreas, of course, is a gland, so it's made up of glandular epithelium. Really makes things easy. Do a little bit of reading here if you've got the time. Here's one of my favorites. It's the liver. It looks like so many tiles packed together, or paving stones packed together, each one with at least one, usually only one, vein in the center. All you need to do on this is identify it as liver. We're going to go over the function, we'll go over the substructure, but if you can identify that on site as liver, well, then you know it's a gland. It's the largest gland in the body, and therefore it's made up of glandular epithelium. Okay. This is the eye, sclera, choroid coat, retina, and here's the posterior cavity. You wouldn't have guessed it at first, but now you see it, and it makes sense. The lung is shown here. This is the skin. This is the dermis of the skin. The upper one was to show the epidermis. Okay. I'm not trying to lecture too much. I'm trying to give you some hints as we go through. The reading really is up to you. Here's the ovary and the ovary model. Okay. Anything you can find time for is going to make time for you. And here's the seminiferous tubules that are found in the testes. And I think that's the end of that one. Okay, I'm not gonna even go through this one. I'm just gonna let it load up. I want to see if it's the same or not. Okay, this is not the same. This is actually lecture material that doubles as lab material. And as you read through it, the digestive system, you've had this lecture before. You've actually seen this lecture. You and I have gone over it. We've gone over this picture, but this all comes back to haunt us for P4. So please take a look at it. This one's a little bit better put together. Uh, I didn't like the way the other one was done, so I did this one. Okay. For the tissues, okay, to get an understanding of the tissues, we usually start with the epithelial tissue, and this is lecture material. This will be given to you when you get back. If you can read it ahead of time or have time to read it, great. If you find yourself getting confused, put it, just close it up. Close it up if you find yourself getting confused. Go on to lecture two if you can handle that one. My website, I'll have a link again for you. Uh, you should have seen it by now, of course, at least here. And there it is. So we can come over to the laboratory side. Forget the web links, that's not necessary. The histology study guide is this again. You've seen it before. This is what I was talking about a moment ago. So as you're going through the various types of tissues or organs, and there are organs listed over here, you can give the function of the organ, okay? And for the tissue, give the function of the tissue or sometimes the definition of the material, depending upon whether we got a D or an F there. But please make use of this. I'm going to ask you to have it filled out, and I'm going to ask you at the end to submit it to me in any form you want. You can make a PDF if you know, printers are cheap these days. Unfortunately, they break down too. Ink's more expensive. If you want to make a PDF, you can attach it. If not, you can take a photograph of your finished histology study guide and send it in to me. I have drawing templates. That's if you were going to make your own drawings as if it were with a microscope. And I'm not asking you to do that, but some people like it. And open up. Such a simple page. It doesn't take that long to open up. Okay, this is you would name your tissue type if you want. Okay, and fill out the other information that you're interested in or think that I would ask. Well, I would ask, what is the tissue type? Where do you find it in the body? Maybe some of the characteristics of it, if it's that's important. I don't care much about the magnification. As if you were looking through a microscope, some people will draw the tissue right in here. And you can print out as many of these as you want. I'm not requiring it, okay? Histology slides. This third one is an important one. This leads to the slides that I posted originally many years ago. Some I've improved upon, some I still need to improve upon, and some I found so good on the internet. There's no need of me trying to improve on it. I just will lead you to them. The different types of epithelial tissue are listed here, and they go right down in order the same way the histology study guide asks you to consider them. Then the connective tissues are over here. Those in parentheses, I'm not going to do. You've got two over here, stratified cuboidal and stratified columnar, in parentheses. I'm not going to ask you anything about those. Doesn't mean the curious person won't want to know. I'm not going to ask fibrocartilage. I'm not going to ask the spinal cord, but that's it. The rest of the material I am. Okay, so hit pancreas. This is an islet of Langerhans, islet of Langerhans. We call them islets also. Here's a magnification of it. Okay, you'll learn that that's where the hormones are produced, glucagon and insulin, but pancreatic amylase is produced in these cells out here, which are far more abundant. You're going to want to be able to recognize pancreas, but there are other places to see a picture. One picture probably is not going to do it. And lung tissue, okay, very spongy looking. This is a bronchiole down here. Don't be confused. But the very, very, very tiny thin tissue. It's an epithelial tissue because it covers our lines. And that is simple squamous epithelium. We use the term simple squamous when we talked about Bowman's capsule in the kidney. It's just one cell layer thick. And really actually kind of weak. So you want to go through at some point and click on every one of these that is not in parentheses, okay, until you feel that you can identify them as somebody else were doing the clicking and you were doing the naming. Photos of classroom models are here, and they are not labeled much, but they are very familiar to you, I think, some of them. So you are going to be wanting to work off of my website at this point, in addition to our own material, of course. Here we go, come on. Okay, so this is just a PowerPoint. It has the models that we will use on the examination. Okay. Here they're not labeled, but in the text that I showed you a moment ago, tissue and organs number 2 that we opened up a moment ago, and it had the jaw. You saw that, okay, and then you saw the stomach, and you saw some of this. Those are all labeled. So these are labeled in the text. Okay, here's our kidney. It's labeled in our previous text. Okay. So you can get an idea of what models we're going to use. I have some practice PowerPoints for histology. I'm not overly thrilled with all of the pictures here, but some of them are absolutely great. There's 3 links here: practice PowerPoint for histology, some practice histology slides, and more histology slides. And I've got more too. Let's hit the last. Okay, this one, for instance, here opens up and asks you if you know some of this stuff. Well, when you're ready for it, maybe you're not ready for it yet. But this is a glomerulus. This is Bowman's capsule around it, and the glomerular space is in between. These are kidney tubules, and they're composed of simple cuboidal epithelium. Uh, Maybe you can't rattle things off like that just yet. Don't worry. Don't worry at all. You will be dreaming of stuff. Okay, the next slide labels it for you. The next slide. And this is misspelled, of course, is showing simple cuboidal epithelium in the kidney tubules. This slide, what is it? Well, it's villi, lined by simple columnar epithelium. And so you go to the next one, simple columnar epithelium in the jejunum, Okay. Here's where you always have your work sheet out so that you can add to the worksheet anytime you find something that might be of interest. The thing of interest here, or characteristic, is that the small intestine, which is the jejunum in part, is lined by simple columnar epithelium. Here's the epidermis, and the dermis is the light color below it. So it's stratified squamous for the skin. This next one you haven't seen yet, so I'm not going to throw it at you today. Here's adipose. No name here. It wants to know if you know it yet. It looks like bubbles. Hit the next slide. It's a loose connective tissue called, of course, adipose. This one is the compact bone. Go next, and it just simply names it. Any of these slides, even though the ones that, of course, you don't know yet, that's nothing to be afraid of. And if you don't know them this week, if you're trying to review some of this material, don't worry about it at all. Just try to make it easy on yourself and learn what you can, or get familiar or introduced to what you can. That's all I'm suggesting that you do. So on my website, okay, which will have your scores also, I'll mail them to you, but there's where the scores go. It's not updated for today. Okay. Come down to Unit 4 and sort of devour that one. Okay. And let's see what this one, last one is. My computer's 3 years old, and that tells me better get a new computer. It's slowing down. I mean, I clean it, I do everything. Well, here's some beautiful pictures of the salivary gland. We saw this one a moment ago. And the tongue enlarged. Okay. This is esophagus with stratified squamous epithelium. Okay. It's upper esophagus, therefore. Here's the small intestine. Okay. A lot of information here. I don't like this picture of the colon. It does the job, but I've got a much better picture of colon to show you. And here's the Pancreas again, here's an islet. Here's an islet. Here's the separation of lobes. So it's glandular epithelium. Here's an islet over here. And the rest are enzyme producing cells, pancreatic amylase, and they are called acinar cells. This slide you've seen a moment ago. This is what we mean by reticular tissue. In a lymph node, such as those behind your ears or anywhere in your body, it's chambered, multi-chambered, and it will store blood, but especially white blood cells to combat any sort of infection or abnormality. Okay. Okay. There's a lot that you can do. Okay. I will be sending out an email like I always do, naming what's going to be on P4, so that you can really hone in on that. Okay, that'll probably come out tomorrow. And that's all I wanted to mention. Were you hoping for something different that would help you out?
No, that was helpful.
Okay. Okay, then. Your scores, you can wait for them, probably this evening or something like that. But they were exactly what this time Canvas gave you, plus the points I said I would give you. Add them together, and that's what you'll see. If you don't, and it's less, be sure to contact me. I'll get it fixed, as always. Some people finish that test in 33 minutes. Okay. But that doesn't mean that the people who took the full time were doing anything wrong either. They're just people like some of us that worry a lot. Okay. Well, I'm not getting used to the time change. Not yet, anyway. I'm getting up at the wrong time and getting hungry at the wrong time. Oh, okay then. Unless you have a question, you can. I mean, you might as well take off. If you do have a question, then you don't want to do it in front of everybody else. Just wait around. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Charlie.
Thank you.
Bye.
I have a question.
Sure, you're the only one.
Yeah. So I finished my email writing to Professor Street to try to get a spot in her class. I just wanted to ask you if it's okay that I mentioned that you recommended me for her class.
That I did?
That you said you would recommend me for her class. Or I said in my email, I said,
Yeah, it's good if I know what you said. I can work around it.
I said, I have talked with Professor Harrison. He suggested I email you with his recommendation.
Okay. I'm gonna have to follow it up. Obviously, she won't take it just from you.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's fine.
That's okay.
Fine. Yeah, now wait a minute. Give me a second.
No worries.
No, I'm trying to. Did I turn the recording off?